breaking news this afternoon. A Lexington native and her husband are among those missing after the terrorist attacks in Brussels. We've talked to her family about the search.
Belgian officials are on the hunt for at least one attacker that got away. I'm Jonathan Vigliotti in Brussels. I'll have the latest on that ongoing investigation and the attacks coming up.
A bill aimed at modifying regulations for radioactive material in Kentucky is one step closer to becoming a law.
WKYT News starts now with breaking news.
Late this afternoon, we have learned a Lexington native and her husband are among those missing following today's terror attacks in Belgium.
Stephanie and Justin Shults were at the Brussels airport when 2 bombs went off there this morning. WKYT's Garrett Weimer talked to Stephanie Shults' family this afternoon. He's live on the Transylvania University campus where she attended college with more on what they told us. Garrett?
Family members say Stephanie Shults and her husband Justin have lived in Brussels for a couple of years now. But before that, Stephanie graduated from Bryan Station High School, then got her undergrad degree here at Transylvania University, where she graduated in 2008. Her family, who still live here in Lexington, have now gone more than 12 hours without knowing where their daughter and son-in-law are. Stephanie's aunt says her sister Carolyn was just wrapping up a week in Belgium visiting her daughter and son-in-law. She says Carolyn was supposed to fly home to Lexington today. We're told they were inside the airport and Carolyn was just about to check in when an explosion rocked the terminal and knocked Carolyn off her feet. In the aftermath of that, family members say Carolyn has not been able to find Justin and Stephanie.
I've called, or my husband called, the American Embassy, and they're looking for her too.
Congressman Andy Barr's office tells us they've been in contact with the State Department and are doing what they can to help find the couple and reconnect them with the family. But as you might imagine, it's been a very difficult day for the family here, so many miles away. Live in Lexington, Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
Belgium's prime minister has called for 3 days of national mourning following this morning's attacks.
The Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the bombings today, 2 at the Brussels airport and a 3rd at a busy train station nearby. So far, the death toll is at 36 people, with nearly 200 more injured. Jonathan Vigliotti continues our team coverage with the latest from Brussels.
2 survivors, one clutching a baby, picked themselves up off the floor moments after an explosion tore through the terminal. It was one of 2 powerful blasts at the Brussels airport that blew out windows and caused a ceiling to cave in. Travelers ran for safety.
Everyone's panicking. I just saw 2 people with heads covered, really covered with blood.
An airport security camera captured this image of 3 men that Belgian prosecutors say are behind the attacks. Authorities believe the 2 men in black blew themselves up. They've issued a wanted notice for the 3rd suspect. Another deadly explosion rocked a busy subway station about an hour later. Some passengers evacuated through dark tunnels.
Belgian authorities say there is still the strong possibility of another terrorist attack, but people here in Brussels have been allowed to return back to the streets, and the subway system is slowly reopening.
Speaking in Cuba, President Obama condemned the attacks.
We must be together, regardless of nationality or race or faith, in fighting against the scourge of terrorism.
The attacks come just days after authorities in Brussels arrested Salah Abdeslam, a key suspect in last fall's deadly Paris attacks.
The one thing that's shocking to me is that you've had, in the wake of the Paris attacks, yet another sophisticated, coordinated attack right under the noses of European authorities.
It's unclear if today's attacks were moved up in the wake of Abdeslam's arrest. Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News, Brussels, Belgium.
And among the American victims are 3 missionaries from Utah who were seriously injured and an American service member and his family. U.S. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell issued a statement this morning on the attacks in Brussels. The Kentucky Republican said, "Americans are saddened and horrified by the attacks in Brussels. We send our collective condolences to the victims and their families, and we are thinking of the Belgian people in this dark hour." U.S. officials say they have no evidence of planned attacks here, but they are worried about copycats. Security has been increased at airports, subway stops, and train stations. The FBI is also increasing surveillance of known terror suspects living here in the United States. A native of Corbin, Kentucky was among those who felt this morning's attacks.
Joby Bennett was at work just a couple of miles from the airport when the bombs went off. He tells us the attacks have been a wake-up call about the dangers in that part of the world. WKYT's Phil Pendleton continues our team coverage from Corbin.
Joby Bennett has lived in Belgium since 2012. His mother still lives here in Corbin, and she says she found out about the terrorist attack when working out this morning, and she says immediately her thoughts turned to her son.
They said Joby was just on Facebook, and he says everything's okay. There's been an explosion in Brussels, and that was the first I learned of it.
Joby Bennett has worked for a defense contractor, and it was about 2 miles from the blast areas. He says he didn't see it, but he heard it and felt his office building shake.
The metro system is shut down. Of course, the airport is shut down. So in our organization, we had multiple people traveling today, and their flights were either diverted.
Bennett says his job requires him to travel, and he says he's been in the Brussels airport dozens of times.
The pre-check-in area at the airport where this explosion happened, it was ripe for a terrorist attack because, yeah, you will see Belgian armed military guys in that area, but there's nothing they can do because it's before you check in at the airport and it's before the security gates.
And Joby Bennett tells us that he's seriously thinking about relocating his wife and their 2 children back to the United States because he says he does not feel safe in Belgium anymore. In Corbin, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Bennett tells us he works in a part of Brussels with many international businesses where many Americans work. We'll continue to track the developing situation out of Belgium. You can find the latest headlines on WKYT.com. A bill designed to make it harder to dump radioactive waste in Kentucky is moving forward.
An Estill County representative proposed the bill after the state revealed radioactive waste was dumped at a landfill there. As WKYT's Victor Puente shows us, the bill had no opposition when a House committee considered it this afternoon.
This bill isn't meant to introduce new regulations, but it would modify some existing ones. The man behind it says he wants to make sure the state is doing everything it can when it comes to naturally occurring radioactive material. This is the second committee House Bill 563 has been presented to. It would clarify an existing law to make sure solid waste from oil and gas drilling operations that contain low-level radioactive wastes are included in prohibited imports into Kentucky. It was introduced by Representative Cluster Howard, who represents Estill County. That's where naturally occurring radioactive material was found in a landfill near 2 schools.
I probably received hundreds of phone calls and emails from constituents there.
Howard says he was working with the Kentucky Resources Council to craft the bill.
But this caused me to question if we could do more in terms of monitoring and checking these wastes coming from out of state.
After a short presentation, it passed out of committee.
Senator Embry? Aye. Senator Girdler?
Aye. Unanimously. It will now go on to the full Senate. Earlier this month, the Cabinet for Health and Family Services issued a cease and desist letter to Advance T-Norm. That's a waste disposal company located in West Liberty. The Cabinet said they're responsible for bringing that material to Estill County, and they could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines along with criminal penalties. In Frankfort, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Governor Bevin's office said that he supports the intent of the legislation, but wanted to make a few technical clarifications and review the final bill before he would sign it. It's a mild but windy day across the area. Winds will blow in some storms perhaps later this week.
That's right. WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is here with an early check of the forecast. Chris, it's a nice day.
Yeah, really nice out there. March and high winds kind of go hand in hand. We've got that certainly going on as of right now, but that dry air that is in place also giving us that deep blue sky that we're seeing out there. 66 degrees. Look at the humidity. This is bone dry stuff, combining that low humidity with winds that are coming at us has sustained now from the south and southwest, 21 miles per hour. That's why we have a lot of burning restrictions that are currently in place across the entire area. Those gusts at times have been greater than 30 to 35 miles per hour. Most areas deep into the 60s as expected. A lot of mid and upper 60s out there. Should be in similar territory tomorrow. First things first, that's your evening. It's still windy through sundown. We're into the 60s and a drop into the upper 40s to low 50s. Cold front to our north and northwest. That's a big-time storm system that is coming together. That's a snowstorm on the way for the plains into sections of the Great Lakes. For us, that means some showers and thunderstorms on the way for Thursday. A few of those storms could be strong. We'll focus on that and your all-important Easter Sunday forecast when I come back in a matter of minutes.
One of two suspects in a gas station robbery remains on the run this afternoon. Lexington police say two men held up the marathon on Newtown Pike at gunpoint around 4 this morning. The gas station manager says the clerk handled the situation well.
He kept his calm. It's never easy when a gun is being pointed at you to think clearly, but the guy was in and out in what seemed like less than a minute. He pulled the drawer out and the guy only ended up getting a handful of 1s and some 5s.
Police later found the man at a Thornton's on Georgetown Road. We're told they crashed into the police paddy wagon before running away. Police caught one of them and the other is still on the run.
Deputies think that alcohol played a role in a deadly crash. Our county-by-county coverage begins in Whitley County. The sheriff's office says that Sharon Mills' car ran off Highway 904, hit a tree, and burst into flames. Deputies say they found empty alcoholic beverage containers in the car. Mills died at the scene. In Laurel County, two people faced charges after two children's hands were set on fire. According to an indictment, James Stark poured lighter fluid on the children's hands before lighting them on fire. One of the children suffered severe burns. The Times-Tribune reports Stark is charged with 3 counts of wanton endangerment and 2 counts of criminal abuse. Amanda Crow is also charged with complicity in the case. In Madison County, a man accused of trying to use counterfeit money faces more charges. Richmond police arrested Aaron Rowley last week after they say he used money with the words "for motion picture use only" at the Ready Mart. Richmond police say he passed another similar fake bill at the A&F Shell station. He now faces a second charge for criminal possession of a forged instrument. President Obama is wrapping up his historic trip to Cuba today. This morning, the president addressed the Cuban people, telling them he came to bury the remnants of the Cold War in the Americas. He also had a private meeting with political opponents and dissidents at the U.S. Embassy.
My hope is that by listening and hearing from them, that we can continue to refine our policy in such a way that ultimately the Cuban people are able to live freely and prosperously.
The first family also attended an exhibition baseball game this afternoon before the president heads on to Argentina later today.
More voters are heading to the polls today to help pick their party's presidential nominee. Arizona and Utah are holding primaries for both parties. In Idaho, there's a Democratic caucus. Republican candidate Donald Trump and Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton lead the delegate count on each side of the presidential race. A once infamous mayor has died. Former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford lost his battle with cancer today at the age of 46. His tenure leading Canada's largest city was marred by revelations about drinking problems and illegal drug use. Ford refused to step aside even after the city council stripped him of most of his powers.
House Democrats have proposed a road spending plan that includes money for widening Interstate 75. The 2-year plan includes $128 million for widening I-75 in Rockcastle County. That money comes after a snowstorm in January left drivers stranded there overnight. There's also money to continue to expand the Mountain Parkway in eastern Kentucky. You can help a Lexington firefighter who is battling cancer by having pizza for dinner. The Papa John's on Avenue of the Champions is donating 25% of today's sales to the Matt Logston Cancer Fund. Logston was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer earlier this year. Today's fundraiser is one of dozens in the last few weeks to help Logston.
It's time for Better Living, health, education, and consumer news that impacts your life. Spring has arrived, and for many people that means itching, sneezing, and dealing with the fog of allergy season. Erica Foreman shows you ways to keep your symptoms under control.
Who doesn't want to open the windows for some fresh air on a warm spring day? But if you suffer from seasonal allergies, doctors advise against it.
That can also bring the pollens in and make you that much more miserable.
Allergists recommend making your home a pollen-free zone by keeping windows closed and using air conditioning. Also avoid hanging clothes, sheets, and blankets outdoors where they can trap pollen. Experts also suggest taking a shower before bed.
This will actually clean the pollens off of them so they're not climbing into bed covered in it.
Dr. Hung also tells her patients to keep outdoor pets off the bed.
They're covered in the pollen and they're basically just going to be snuggling up to you and bringing all of the tree, grass, weed pollens in with them.
If avoiding pollen isn't doing the trick, allergy medications may help. Antihistamines will reduce the itching and sneezing, while nose sprays can relieve nasal congestion.
We actually go to those as our #1 treatment for allergies. They not only help with your stuffiness, but they'll help with your eye symptoms and the draining down the back of your throat.
Looking for a more long-term solution? Immunotherapy allergy shots or tablets are another option. Both help the body build tolerance to an allergen over time. At Cleveland Clinic, I'm Erica Foreman.
If you use e-cigarettes, you could be putting your pet's health at risk. According to the Pet Poison Hotline, the number of pets poisoned by e-cigarettes jumped 400% in the past 2 years. Pets can become sick from ingesting e-cigarette liquid or inhaling the vapor. Many pet owners don't realize traditional cigarettes aren't good for pets either.
Anytime you put smoke out into the air or chemicals into the air, don't forget their lung fields are smaller than ours and they're closer to the ground. These particles will fall down due to gravity and they're closer to the ground. They can inhale them or ingest them much quicker than we can.
Some of the smoke-related illnesses dogs or cats can suffer from include lung cancer.